It's almost dinner time. Tonight we're going to talk about vibe coding, AI, and AI agents. I guess we're ready.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nick Zieber. I'm a co-founder of Mimosa. We are the home base for vibe coders. Today I'm joined by Leo, Jason, Phil, and John. I'm going to start by having them introduce themselves and what they're doing, and then we'll get into a little bit of supercharging AI agents, tools, interfaces, and the art of vibe coding. So we'll start with you, Leo.
Oh, thanks. So my name is Leo, or Long in Vietnamese. So I run this thing called sqrDAO. The SQR is actually pronounced square, right? So it's a builders and founders community based out of Vietnam. We work a lot with builders and founders. With a focus on Vietnam either as a market or as a home base for development, for growth, for GTM. We've been around for about 3 years. We have over 100 members in the community and over 3,000 people within the larger network, the sqrDAO network. I'm also personally a vibe coder, so we actually build a lot of the internal tools and stack within sqrDAO using AI. So happy to shed some light on how you run an AI-powered community and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jason from Hong Kong and the founder and CEO of OLAXBT. So what we do is quant native AI agent, and we have an MCP marketplace to have a lot of pre-built MCP servers to help and empower investors to build their own quant trading agents. And then they can be more reactive, timely response to the market volatility and so on. And most important, to make sure their risk is managed properly.
Hey everyone, my name is Phil Hedayatnia. I'm one of the co-founders at Airfoil. We're basically a design firm that works with early stage founders, and I think a lot of folks in crypto may know us from working with the Solana Labs team, with Turnkey, with Uniswap, a lot of others in the space, but we also do a lot of work with companies in AI. So we work with the team at Menlo Research, which builds new large language models for robotics use cases. People have used VAPI or Reducto. Those are all products that we're involved heavily on the product design, branding, market positioning, et cetera. So a lot of work kind of across both spaces. Yeah, so it's exciting because a lot of times like what we do is work with founders that are introducing really interesting technical innovation to the world and then figure out how to make it easy to understand for people, usable and useful for people.
Yeah, hey everyone. First of all, thanks for having me. My name is John Cho. I'm the VP of Partnerships at Kaia. So if you're not familiar with Kaia, Kaia is a layer 1, and we're uniquely positioned in the sense that we have an exclusive relationship with Line Messenger. So Line Messenger is basically our distribution channel, and it's the touch point where our majority of our users actually access a lot of our consumer dApps. So be it from gaming to consumer DeFi, and obviously, you know, considering the audience that we have, which by the way is around 250 million, you know, AI comes in especially from a UX UI efficiency and optimization perspective. So yeah, really excited to kind of like talk about how AI actually can really help consumers and their user experiences with apps, and at the same time, obviously, from a builder perspective as well.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. So we talked a little bit Wednesday night just to get on the same page about what we wanted to talk about in this panel. And one thing maybe I can relate to people who want to be on the cutting edge and understand what all this technology is about. One thing, even after working in technology for a long time, this idea of AI agents tends to be a buzzword, especially now in a blockchain conference. I'd say it's a little bit kind of like the Chris Pratt meme where I'm like, at this point, I'm kind of afraid to ask because maybe I look like I don't understand. So the question I want to ask the panel is, like, what actually are AI agents? Like, by a show of hands, how many people actually use ChatGPT or some kind of LLM like Gemini or something like that, right? Pretty much everybody. So how many of you actually know like what agents are and what they do? Like you could stand up and explain it to the group. Raise your hand if you could. Okay, so like a handful, right? So I want to ask the panel if you could get into sort of the very basics of what an AI agent is.
Yeah, sure. So compared to like ChatGPT, like a chat interface, a quick example is, let's say I would love to learn about, do a market analysis on Bitcoin. So it will tell you if you use Perplexity, you use GPT will likely give you a price, but you want to do market analysis, it will advise you the way you do it, and then it may generate some code for you to plug in and play at your own environment. But however, if you do that with an AI agent, it's actually getting you the real-time data from the Oracle that you assign to do that, and then to run through the technical analysis at your preferences. So in short, AI agent can perceive the current situation that you are at and to grab the right tools for you to do the execution. So it's more like an action-driven tools for you to complete your goal. And compared to using ChatGPT, the chat interface, it will be more like give you an answer, but instead of executions.
I kind of think about it as just like AI agents are basically AIs that can do things, right? So they can take actions on your behalf. And where this gets really interesting in terms of applications of AI, if you use ChatGPT, you can probably get a lot of information. You can get answers from ChatGPT. When you use AI agents, they can do a lot of things on your behalf. So one of our clients is a company called DAO, and they serve dental service operators, companies that own dental offices. When AI agents, you could do something like, of course, like similar to just using an LLM, ingest all of our financial data, predict which items we need to buy to fulfill our practice's needs in the next 2 months. But then you could actually tell the AI, okay, go buy that for me, right? And without any additional steps, you can tie in directly to your procurement software and then make a purchasing decision, and then it just arrives, right? So I think this is what really unlocks the future of AI. It's not just about giving us more visibility, better answers, better search, but it's about being able to take entire workflows and business processes that normally have people in the loop and being able to offload that entirely to software, especially in cases where there aren't clear APIs or existing products that can do all of that for you.
And just kind of summarize the amazing answers and responses that you guys gave. From a layman's perspective, I always tell my friends, so AI agents are basically a set of granular parameters that automate and facilitate operational efficiency. Because at the end of the day, right now, I think AI is, eventually, obviously, it'll go beyond this, but most of the use cases around AI is, I think, around operational efficiency, right? And so agents are just the actionable aspect of that, right? So automation and facilitating operational efficiencies. That's kind of like a granular set of parameters that automate and facilitate operational efficiency. So that's kind of like my layman's take on what an agent is.
Awesome, thank you. Can you share maybe a simple real-world example? I think the dentist office was a great one, but if we have some more real-world examples of agents, and if you have a particular favorite, I would be interested to know.
I think for me, especially on my timeline, the biggest use case for agents I've been seeing are from creators, video content creators, right? So right now on TikTok and YouTube Shorts, faceless video content is one of the most popular and also one of the most well-received verticals of content. And basically, because it's faceless and because it's talentless, that entire process is completely automated using agents. So they have multiple agents orchestrating various specific tasks. So for example, you have one, and by the way, agent orchestration, that's another thing that we should probably look into, but they have multiple agents. For example, one agent assesses the current trending hashtags or keywords on a specific platform, and then another agent takes that specific kind of keyword and creates a content outline. Another agent generates images from that. Another agent generates video from that image. And then finally, that agent uploads that to that specific platform. And all these agents work and orchestrate together, basically automating the content creation process. And I've seen kids 15, 16 years old making 5-6 figures just automating this process because they're uploading 300-400 videos a day across multiple accounts. So that's, for me, has been the most interesting and also maybe most effective use of agents recently.
So if I were to code one of these agents just from scratch, I would have to start by writing out each of the steps, right? So say 8 a.m. this morning, I need you to go find the trending topics on x.com. So that would be like the first step, right? And then, summarize these into something that could be created into short form video content. And then let's take the summary and put it into, say, like an image generation model to create like a tile for each of these trending topics, right? I think like the agent has to be like very much a bundled set of instructions to kind of repeat given a certain action, right?
So, like I said, and by the way, there are like a lot of templates out there, and there's also like pre-made solutions, no-code solutions that kind of offer this kind of like workflow. But the thing is, this process at the moment cannot be done by a single agent. It's actually multiple agents working together. So for me here, I guess there's two kind of layers that I kind of took away. Again, the use case itself, which is like basically automating that content creation process, and B, agent orchestration, which I think is something that we're going to see a lot more of, as opposed to relying on a single agent, using multiple agents, specializing in specific verticals and tasks, and then orchestrating that.
So as a simple example, like if let's say you have something that requires 2 agents, what would each of the 2 agents do?
So, for example, one agent would be solely responsible for assessing the latest trends and keywords, content that is basically trending, right? And then another agent then would kind of take those, extract keywords from those trending pieces of content and generate its own kind of like content outline, which then can be converted into like video content or image content, whatever. So if you were to kind of break it down into 2 core agent tasks, one, constantly crawling like social feeds for the latest trends, and then the other agent would be actually creating content against those trends.
Got it. Okay, now I have a question. Why have AI agents become such a popular topic for people in crypto?
It's a new buzzword, so people can start trading on it. I think the first thing was that there's a lot of social virality, right? As soon as we can learn how to use trusted execution environments effectively, so you can sort of show the work that an AI takes on-chain, you can verify that it hasn't been manipulated, right? That kind of dominated everyone's Twitter feed for a long time. You'd see people just launching coins, having AI agents go on Twitter, kind of fight for mind share. I think that a lot of that just has to do, though, with a second that something launches in crypto, we immediately try to start speculating on it. And I think that ultimately that's died down, and I don't think it'll really come back. What's interesting with AI agents in crypto long term, I think, is the ability to give agents the ability to execute financial transactions directly, right? The idea behind making all transactions digital and creating this global, interconnected, decentralized financial system is that all of a sudden transactions and money become usable by code. And that's really relevant because even for something as simple as if I have an agent that's supposed to go buy flights on my behalf so I can go and travel to a different place, it's not actually a trivial task to connect an agent to something that could buy the flight for you, right? If all of a sudden money is programmable, then it also means that agents are able to use that money, send that money, receive that money, same as code, and that creates all sorts of other use cases.
Do you think that's why we're going to see kind of a greater link between stable coins and this AI tech?
I think so. I think that's a huge reason why a lot of kind of TradFi companies are getting in right now, is they sort of see this use case. The other thing, though, is it gives you access to broader markets, right? So even if somebody's building specifically for the US market, then we have existing fintechs that you can utilize, and you can utilize MCP servers and APIs to connect actions to agents. But if you're talking about launching a product in 100 different countries, and every one of their financial systems works in a very different way, it becomes infeasible to create single agents that can operate in those unless money is programmable. And I think that's part of the idea.
And just to kind of expand on that, by the way, he makes a really great point, and that was a great question as well. So I was talking about how I think in the future, majority of agent executions will be done by swarms or orchestrated kind of agents. And the thing is, eventually what you're going to see is you're going to see agents hiring other agents to complete tasks, and then you need a way for those agents to pay each other. So I don't know if you guys remember, and I don't want to be shilling a specific token, but there was a meta a couple of months ago where AI payment infrastructure was kind of like the big thing. So basically, infrastructure that allows agents to pay each other. And obviously the core kind of like, asset there, I think, is definitely going to be stable coins.
That's great. Yeah, thank you guys. I want to make a little bit of a transition now into vibe coding. So how many of you have heard the term vibe coding before? Show of hands. You know this term is only about like 6 months old, right? So here's where the term vibe coding came from, for those of you who don't know. There's a guy named Andrej Karpathy who used to be head of AI for Tesla. I think he was one of the original staff for OpenAI. He tweeted one day, he said, "There's a new kind of coding I call vibe coding, where you fully give into the vibes, embrace exponentials, and forget that the code even exists." So the question I want to ask is, now that we're able to kind of use AI to help us code, for those of us who are technical or non-technical, how do agents and coding, like being able to code with AI, how does that affect the role of the developer or builder? I want to open this to Leo and Jason.
Sure. So I used to be an engineer in my previous career. So I haven't coded in, let's say, years, right? And so for the last 6 months, I started picking up coding again, because now with like coding agents and coding terminals, the task of prototyping, developing, and basically building out, like either MVP or like early prototype or something you want to do is so much easier, right? So for me, I think two type of people who vibe code, right? One is the one that never coded before, so you have no idea what's going on, but you do have a bunch of ideas. You want to lay it out into something usable. So that's the first type, and actually, I think in the last year or so, let's say in the last 6 months, I've observed a lot of my friends and families and people who are like non-technical in crypto attempting to build their first DApp, build their first prototype or whatever they've been imagining for months. And the only thing holding them back was like, oh, I don't have a dev. So now they can kind of just realize that vision by themselves. And some of these people, after they build their first prototype, they're like, oh, this is pretty cool. I should learn how to really do this. So they start self-teaching, self-learning to become product managers, to become developers in their own right. Like they're picking up Python and TypeScript and Node.js and whatever else out there, right? But then there's a second type of vibe coder, and that's actually is senior developers. The guy that's been in the industry for years, so 5, 10, 15 years. Now they pick up vibe coding because it makes their lives so much easier. They can use it to automate a lot of tasks and normally have to go to layers and layers of communication between the senior developer and the junior developers, and sometimes even the business people. Now everything can be basically automated, right? You have like, again, back to the agentic AI, there will be different agents who do different things. Like you have a research agent which is collecting all the DeFi data on a daily basis and feed it back to an MCP server, to another agent who's now mapping up the requirement for a new feature. And then when the requirement for feature landed back to the developer, he already had a full picture of what he needs to do. And so that basically cut down development time by a lot. I think Brian Armstrong from Coinbase was just like sharing on Twitter the other day that like, oh, we are making every single developer at Coinbase to learn Cursor and Gemini. If they don't learn it by a week, they're fired. Yep. So again, I'm not saying that's completely the right way, but it is an irreversible trend that as builders, either technical or non-technical, you should at least like try this out, or just maybe embrace it a little bit. For me, it's been really fun. Like I've been building vibe coding for the last 6 months. We've been building a lot of experimental stuff in-house. We built a Luma agent to manage our Luma events. So now, whenever we have an event, it's actually not a human approving or rejecting people. It's actually an agent doing this. Every day, jump in at exactly this hour, check all the sign-ups. If someone doesn't have a company email, reject.
So long gone are the days of like, hey bro, can you get me into this event? And you're like, no, our agent rejected you. I'm sorry.
But then I get people DM me like, hey, why I rejected? So now adding an extra step, like If someone is in our list before and they approve before, then don't reject them. But if you do reject them, let me know. So now I become the agent's boss, right? So again, I guess that's my take on it. Like, as a builder, vibe coding is a really powerful skill set that you can employ to realize a lot of your early vision. Especially, let's say you are like a solo builder who's just an idea, and you don't have the time or the money yet to get onto the program and like find like a technical co-founder. First thing you can do is just like try to vibe it out.
Yeah, so if you were to get started vibe coding today, how would you recommend, like, for example, like, can you show me your hands, how many have actually tried to vibe code something, like a game or an app? Like, okay, maybe a third, 30%, something like that. So for those who've never tried it, how would you recommend they get started in, say, 15 minutes to get started vibe coding?
I would say just build what you want to do. Let's say from a trader perspective, and I used to be data scientist, building a lot of code that you said, and complement one of the point he said, not just the MVP, everybody can build an MVP to validate your ideas. In the past, maybe any one of you guys have some business idea at your early stage at university, say, oh, I should have built that, somebody built it successfully, because I don't have the time to learn how to code and so on. Now, you have the opportunity to just start talking to the cursor or whatsoever IDE that you can build your code and start doing that. 15 minutes, and then you can start validating your ideas, and then just launch it on App Store or whatsoever, have a web page to do that. It makes things faster. But another point that he mentioned that is for senior developer is actually a good thing. But in the like a founder perspective, we're focusing on the cost control. And if you have built code for a long time, it's actually have a heavy tech debt. And vibe coding or any code specific agent can actually help us to make a life easier. For example, if your CTO left your company one day and nobody is taking care of the code, then what is a disaster to the company. So now with the agent and the vibe coding expertise, maybe a PM can pick up the code quickly and faster than before. So I would say the agent, AI agent nowadays, open new gateway for business expertise to get into the RPA era. So in the past, like RPA, like robotics, automation, and so on, it needs developer to do it still. But nowadays, with the help of the agent, if you don't understand what's going on the code, you just ask the agent for the answer. So it gives more time for business manager to have the planning to access to the tech part, and also give them time for the technical developer to think more about how to drive business value for the users. So I think it's a good technology that bring two sides people together, work on one single thing. And the past say, oh, I'm a business guy, I don't know how to code. I'm a technical guy, I don't know how to think about the business planning. And now your time is saved and cost is like minimized. So I would say that's the key take for AI agent and the beauty of vibe coding. No more excuse for everybody.
I think that I have what might be a slightly different viewpoint on vibe coding, because I don't think that everyone should do it, or at least certain types of it, right? I think there's a lot of different definitions of vibe coding, but I'm a fan of what Theo, he's a pretty popular YouTuber, like engineering YouTuber, recently did a live stream specifically on this question. And he was like, vibe coding is useful in the way that it generates throwaway code. But throwaway code is often very useful, right? If you're prototyping something rapidly, you want to test it, get feedback, you want to just build a quick internal tool, right? Those are pretty simple tasks. It's not that important that the code is that performant. It's not that important the code is that secure, because it's not going to be put in situations where that matters, right? And so vibe coding is great because you can generate code, prototype stuff, throw it out, build it the right way down the road. But I think whatever you build directly using a coding agent needs to be something that you understand. And when I see people jump into vibe coding who don't know what a database is, for example, and then they run into problems, like, it's helpful to then ask an agent what's going wrong, and then maybe you can use that to learn. But you have to make sure that you have enough of a fundamental understanding of how engineering works in order to understand really what's going on. Otherwise, you sometimes can get into dangerous territory There's been a number of apps that launched in the last year. There was one in particular in the US where people could rate previous people they'd been on dates with, and I'm forgetting the name of the app, T, right? And like apparently a huge section of the code base had been vibe coded, and everyone's IDs that they uploaded into the application were leaked to hackers, right? So there's significant risks to this and also significant opportunities. I think that for a lot of people that are interested in building software who don't have an engineering background and utilizing AI, there's also a middle step, right? Which is platforms even like Airtable, right? Airtable has agents that you can interact with that'll help you create an application, and it'll function very much as an app. It's built on top of Airtable and their interfaces, but at the same time, the code that's being generated, right, is effectively pre-vetted, right? It's using the existing systems that they've already built. I think that a lot can be done with agents that doesn't involve them directly coding, and I'm concerned when people ship to production code that comes from those agents. But what I hope happens is, as people are on their journey learning about software engineering and improving as engineers, they find that both they can automate busy work and repetitive tasks, and that they can use agents to help understand what's going on and get to outcomes faster and improve as engineers.
I want to do a quick plug right now, because I think part of what we're doing at Mimosa is teaching people about vibe coding and sort of what it unlocks. There are two platforms you could check out today and get started in 15 minutes. One is called Lovable, L-O-V-A-B-L-E. The other one is called Replit, R-E-P-L-I-T. Now, if you go to either one, you could get started vibe coding. You type in a few sentences and it will start building an app or whatever you're trying to create. You can pretty much figure out the essence of vibe coding in a very short amount of time. Now, what I think Phil was talking about is where you get to a certain point where things start to break and you don't understand the code base. That's where you run into problems. So I would highly encourage you, if you haven't done it before, it really is one of those aha moments. It's kind of like Game of Thrones, where you go through the series and you're like, oh, right? It's that moment of exploratory excitement. So highly encourage people to try out vibe coding. And then the last question I have as we kind of wind down. So in 2 years, like, what is the landscape going to look like? All the LLMs are going to continue to get better. Like, how do you think that this technology is going to impact where we are in 2 years? Like, are people going to lose all their jobs? Like, what's going to happen?
So, like, to provide some context, I come from a very corporate kind of like background. Like, so, like, I spent most of my career working in like the traditional kind of like corporation sector, and in some ways, the way that Kaia, the project, was actually established, between a partnership of Kakao and Line, which are established corporations, this has taken kind of like a big influence on like my outlook of like, what's going to happen. So I'm very pragmatic when it comes to kind of like, technology. So what I see like, agents doing is, from an end user perspective, things may not change that much. But behind the scenes, I think the cost savings, the efficiencies, the automations are going to be game changers for corporations. All right, so you can interpret that however you like. It could mean maybe a loss of human jobs, but I think, again, most of the kind of like advancements we'll see will definitely be on the back end, but those advancements I think will be game-changing advancements where you see corporations save a lot of money, and then they can then reinvest those resources into other areas where they can expand those businesses. So, like, from an end user's perspective, again, maybe not so much of a difference, but on the back end, those efficiencies are going to improve tenfold exponentially, more so than any other like period in history, I think.
Awesome. That's great.
I think two things is going to happen, right? One is we probably see the continuous development of this thing called prompt engineering, because like now not access to LLMs, access to like agentic AI become decentralized and basically commoditized. Whoever write the best prompts win. So you see more and more development of prompt engineering, and the growth of this industry will keep going. That's number one. I think number two is more crypto related. I think we'll see a lot more usable application of Web3 and AI compared to the last year, right? The last year was very much FOMO, hype-induced AI craze, in crypto, and that's mostly over now. So now, I think the real builders, the real Web3 and AI builders will go to work, and next 1-2 years, we'll probably see some really cool shit coming out of those guys.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot, guys. Let's give a big round of applause for our panel today.